Oh, baby, go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Nate here from The Run Experience. I want to talk about planks, and this subject came to mind because a runner of mine just brought this up to me, and she was asking if it was the best exercise for her and really for runners, and it got me thinking and scratching my head a little bit because I was like, it is such a popular exercise. Runners do it all the time. It's a great exercise to do at home, and it's supposed to help improve our posture, increase, engagement in certain muscle groups like our glutes, and make sure those, that whole ability to support the spine is on pat. But I realized, I was like, you know what? I actually personally as a coach don't program them a lot. I don't use them with my runners in the gym, and I don't use them with my runners online. And in this video, I want to tell you why. I don't think they're the best exercise for runners to do, not even close by a long shot. So let's get into that and more. And I'm going to give you one of my favorite exercises to do instead that will really up your strength and conditioning game. First of all, let's take a look at this view. How nice is this, huh? So if you're someone that allocates any time to your strength and conditioning as a runner, you are already coming out ahead regardless of the exercise that you do. So seriously, kudos to you guys who are going after it each and every single week. And planks are beneficial in that they challenge our positions a little bit, right? All of a sudden my vertical standing position, I'm getting into this horizontal position right here where all of a sudden gravity is pulling down on me and I have to resist my sinking down and collapsing and pushing up through here. Of course, the other place sometimes we can hide is those hips start to bridge up. So keeping those hips down in a nice neutral position. It brings a little bit of awareness. I have to make sure that I can keep in a nice straight line. It challenges my ability to breathe while I'm under a little bit of tension there. And things are firing. So there are some of those initial benefits to planks, but it's a low barrier exercise and we adapt to those things really quick. And once we adapt to those things really quick, we're not getting that much stimulus from them anymore. We're not getting that much muscular engagement. In fact, once we get really good at planks, we get kind of bored. Right? We can just hold them for really long periods of time. And this is where we start to not actually use this as an exercise to improve our muscle patterning and things that we want specifically engaged, which I'll get to in a second. But we just default into ugly muscle patterns that have gotten us in trouble in the first place. Notice that when I'm in this position, at first I might need to really flex everything, but after a while I can just kind of relax and I can just sort of hold this so it becomes something that initially might have been a really high tension situation that required a lot of brain muscular engagement that all of a sudden starts to go away. So that's my first problem with the plank, that just lack of kind of that, right? I want to get a little bit more. If I'm going to do regular planks and I've done them for a while, one trick would be to add a little bit of load. If you're in the gym, you could take a 10, 20 pound, 45 pound plate on your back, get that on your hips, and all of a sudden this changes this exercise a little bit. Now, the second major thing with this is that, when we're in this position, it's not the best for promoting certain key things that we need as runners. I know that as a runner, I always need more hamstring and glute engagement. I want to make sure that this system is firing to not only support and stabilize my hips. When I'm standing, you may lose my head for a second, making sure that my hips are nice and engaged so that when I step, I don't collapse with every step here. And then also when I have my hips engaged, I get that beautiful leg swing and extension out the back for power and speed. So if I don't have glute engagement, I don't have hip stability, and I don't have that power and speed for a runner. And the problem with the plank is that it doesn't really promote that glute strength. Now, when I'm in this position, I do need to squeeze my butt a little bit, right, to kind of get my hips in a nice neutral position. But notice that it's actually gravity that's pulling my hips down, and I have to pull my hips up. So rather than the plank being a hip extension exercise, it's actually a hip flexion exercise. My hips are already going to want to extend. That's kind of easy and free because gravity's pulling me down. And I have to flex my hips to pull my hips up off the ground. How do I flex my hips up off the ground? By using my quads and my hip flexors. A lot of us as runners are already quad dominant. We're already stiff here because we sit a lot in chairs typing. And this creates potential issues with just shortening my stride, I tend to get into an overstride situation. And then for some of you, those hip flexors get so tight, it actually starts pulling on that low back. So by doing planks, I'm actually promoting the same muscle patterns that got me in trouble in the first place, and it can create some real problems for me. The third and final problem with the plank is that it actually doesn't improve our upper body posture and shoulder position. Now, if you think about how we spend most of our day, Nora, I see you. Nora's exploring around as we're filming this video together. I want to make sure that my shoulders are back, I'm nice and upright, I've got this nice, beautiful north-south arm swing. But we know that we don't spend a ton of time here all day. In fact, if anything, we get a little fatigued, we get here. Our upper back gets a little rounded and kyphotic, that upper thoracic spine gets a little stiff, and my shoulders start to round in. And this is where I drive, this is where I type, this is where I spend time on my phone, and I might start here on the run or think I'm running here, but in reality I'm here. The arm swing starts to swing across the body, my upper body starts to rotate. I've just landed in this world of incredible inefficiency. Now with this plank, right, I'm actually promoting position like this as opposed to getting myself into positions that really open up that chest and to really open up that thoracic spine. Because what happens is, again, gravity just kind of sinks through. If you're that person who tends to go on your elbows, those elbows tend to flare out. So all of a sudden I'm kind of doing my planks like this. It's just sort of the same ugly position that we're in all the time. So again, I want to make sure that when I'm using my valuable time to improve my strength and conditioning, I'm doing things that really help. I need an exercise that gives me a little bit more load. I need an exercise that's going to not only improve this whole spinal stability piece, but really emphasize posterior chain, hamstrings and glutes specifically for stability and power and speed. And then something that's going to open up my chest and shoulders and improve my posture, and we will get to that next. Now, as in all things, guys, variety does a lot for us. By changing up the exercises we do, it is a little problem our body has to solve. We're all of a sudden stimulated, our attention is really pulled in, as opposed to thinking about that email that we have to write a little bit later. And we get that additional stimulus and dose of our body learning something new and having to adapt. So mixing up exercises a lot is always helpful. And if you're someone who's done regular planks, as I said, hey, get a little weight on your back. That's a nice way to go. If you don't have access to weight, work on a single arm plank or single leg plank. All of a sudden you're having to work on a little rotational stability component. Again, another nice little benefit. What I'm going to suggest right now is actually you flip the plank around altogether and you work on something called a reverse plank. Now, for those of you guys who've done any type of bridging exercise, this is going to feel that similar in the respect of a big dose of hamstrings and glutes. But by going in a nice straight body, we actually get a lot of chest and upper body as well. So I'm going to start with my fingers facing my toes. I'm going to press my hands through here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bridge up by pushing up through the glutes, pressing my hips up as high as I can, and pressing through my shoulders. Now, this is a place where all of a sudden it turns a plank, which was that hip flexion exercise, really into hip extension. Gravity is pulling me down this way, and I have to bridge with my hamstrings and glutes, press my glutes forward into that extension. So when I do this hold, I get a lot of hamstring, as I said, a lot of glute. It really cues that beautiful position we want. And the second thing this thing does is it really forces us into a more open upper back and thoracic spine and shoulders. My shoulders and wrists are an extension here, so all of a sudden if I'm someone who's curled over this way, all of a sudden I'm loading up my wrists in a nice healthy way. And I have to really press through the shoulders as well to open this up. So the very things that the plank wasn't doing for us, this is doing for us, holding this position. And just like this, if I've done this for a long time and I feel pretty good, hey, I could load this up with a little weight on my hips. I could do single leg versions of this. I could go wider and I could try to hold a single arm version of this as well, just to make things that a little bit harder. So long story short, planks are a good place to start, but we can do a whole lot better. Add load, take a limb away, flip it around and do a reverse plank. And that's really gonna get that big dose that we all need as runners. Remember guys, planks or no planks, Nora's going crazy here. We want you your best runner self. We want you strong. We want you moving really, really well. And that's why we've created this YouTube channel here. And it's also why we've created the Run Experience app and filled it with running programs, strength and mobility programs, things that focus on injury prevention, as well as an array of audio and follow-along workouts that really guide you through these sessions so that you know exactly what to do and when, and can just really focus on the important stuff, which is enjoying being outside and enjoying your running. Guys, I'm gonna keep running. I'll see you in the next video.